Good evening, everyone. We are so happy you're here today to come visit us at the Latino Chamber of Commerce. They are hosting the Fitchburg Teen Center Open House for us tonight, so I just wanted to say thank you to them for hosting us. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, to be curious, to have questions, and to see the really good work that the teens, both as interns and as interns, they've been talking with teens in the community to learn more about what they would like to see a teen center in Fitchburg look like. I'm going to pause for a second because part of doing this engagement and this work, we also have an interpreter here today, Julio.
Hi, there is simultaneous interpretation available for this event today, so if you prefer to listen to it in Spanish, just meet me in the back and I can give you the equipment. Hay interpretación simultánea en español para este evento. Si alguien prefiere escuchar en español, que me diga y le puedo dar un aparato. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. All right, and then also, I'm the speaker, so I have to literally stand in the right spot. Sorry.
All rotating around.
All rotating
yeah.
And most of you know, because this is why we're all here, is Joe Maldonado, who is also still our elder, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Still our elder for Fitchburg, City of Fitchburg, has been very passionate about trying to get a teen center built in Fitchburg. So, Joe.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you all so much for coming. I know everybody here is coming from different places, different parts of the community, and I just wanted to share my appreciation to you all for the roles you've played in helping make this happen. I mean, this is an incredibly important project. I think all of us in some sort of way have a passion for making sure our kids succeed and they have the things that we need. The pandemic has been especially rough because it's highlighted a lot of the gaps that we have in really serving our young people. And when we think about, you know, the gap between when young people leave school and get home, there's that third space that a center provides. Just me personally, I've been a beneficiary of youth programming since I was in K-12. I've been a youth worker. I've worked in after-school programs, and my kids have benefited from after-school programs. But when we think about where there are gaps, it's oftentimes for older youth because a lot of our programming is focused on younger kids because obviously the need's there. But our teens need support too, and this is really the reason why we're moving forward and we're kicking off this project.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Many of us have our own personal stories about why we feel a teen center is important for the community, and as Joe said, a third space. I too have my own personal stories, but we also have real life stories of our teens represented as interns and also as fellows who are part of this project, and plus all of the good work that we've been collecting through survey work and doing stakeholder interviews. So there's a lot of data that eventually will come to light in terms of the work that we're doing in this next phase. But we do actually have an agenda and a process that we want to follow tonight. So I want to make sure that I do that. And first and foremost, I want to let you know who's a part of this project team. So we've got JLA architects who are going to be working with us on the concepts for this teen center. We've got UW Extension, part of the university. I want to say the county so bad, and it's the university.
The county as well.
Okay,
yep,
so the county and the university together through the extension, through youth development, has been a strong partner in this. Obviously, the city of Fitchburg has been very interested in learning and wanting to understand, you know, what is needed and required to put a teen center together. And of course, I mentioned the Latino Chamber in terms of being a partner and hosting us. I am the CEO and founder of Equity by Design. We do public engagement work. We very much are passionate about making sure that we center the voice of the community, and in particular, our Black, Indigenous people of color, as well as immigrants and low-income communities and voices. They're very important in making sure that they have a say in the process, as well as all community members. It's really important we have good engagement processes for people to participate, and so we can learn more. And then, of course, my good friend, Carrie Sanders with Hope Community Capital, she's here today in the audience. So that's the team that's making up this work.
You want me to flip from
Yeah, would you?
Yeah.
In terms of today, we're going to give you, Joe is going to run through like what has been the genesis and sort of the trajectory and timeline of this project. And then we're going to talk about what we've been learning from community involvement. And then we really want to make sure that we have JLA talk with you about like what is the, from idea to concept to, coming to a building, how does that happen? And so Rafiq will be sharing with you tonight a process design that they all use. And then of course, less talking and more engagement. So we will be rounding and wrapping this up by making sure you have an opportunity to talk to both our interns who are up here. Both Joe and Jair are going to be talking with you a little bit later about how you can engage with us. And then of course, we've got our interns and fellows here around the room. And then of course, we want you to enjoy the food and the music that has also been made possible tonight. And definitely want to talk about how you can help. So with that, you're going to do it? Okay.
I'll get started. Okay, I just want to be able to see this with the light. Again, this has been a labor of love. It's been going on for about 4 years. So none of this just popped up out of thin air. This is something that came out of a spark of an idea. And if you remember 4 years ago, we were in a very different place in our society. There was a global pandemic. We really shone a light on some of the things that we already knew were problems in our society with the murder of George Floyd. We, kind of came to a reckoning. A lot of people realized things that were already there. But in 2020, the city council approved funding to be able to move forward with the development of a teen center within 5 years. And we're 4 years later, so we're on track to be able to make that happen. In January, throughout this feasibility study, this is a part of a study that was preceded by a community engagement study that happened 2 years ago. And that part was really to figure out whether a teen center was something that the community wanted. And overwhelmingly, young people and adults in the community said, yes, we need a teen center. We do need something in our community. Right now we're in a feasibility study, so this is the study to make sure that now that we know we want a teen center, what is that teen center going to look like? What's going to be there? How is it going to look? How is it going to feel? So this January to March, we hired teen interns who are here with us today. Can all of our teen interns just raise their hand? Okay. So these are young people in middle and high school. They're getting paid to be able to do this work. We've set aside funding to be able to make sure that they're able to not only get experience in doing all the parts of the project that they're doing, but also again get a financial opportunity out of it as well. So one piece of background that I just want to provide is that there have been efforts to provide youth programming in this community. At a certain point in time in the late 2010s, we actually had some youth programming happening at the former fire station here. We also had a local church down the street, Redeemer City, who was partnering with the Verona Area School District to provide programming for younger kids in this neighborhood. And we also have a really small park called King James Way Park that's right down the road as well. That's got facilities, basketball court, and a swing set, but there's not enough, right? And particularly one of the things we noticed is that there's not enough programming for older youth. We do have programming for young people through the Boys and Girls Club, through the Economic Workforce Center, through the BGC, but on this side of Verona Road, there's a lack of programming and a lack of space. So one of the things that we're doing right now is going through this feasibility study, and we're looking at, again, what is the teen center going to look like, who's going to be there, who's going to use it, what organizations are going to be doing programming in the space. And the goal is that by 2026, we will have a space for teens in this community, and then 2025 we'll start building it. There was funding allocated for part one of this study that's happening this year. There's funding for a second part of this that will involve design And then we actually have had funding provided not only by the city of Fitchburg, but also by Dane County. And currently the city of Fitchburg is applying for a federal grant through Senator Tammy Baldwin's office for several millions of dollars to add to the project as well. So this has been a city, a county, and hopefully a federal effort with also individuals giving their money and their time. And I got to shout out Dane County Extension as well for providing in-kind service through staffing to be able to actually work with the teens. And if you see Taylor in the back, Taylor's been working with our youth interns for the past 3 years and has done a phenomenal job because she is a part of our experts in youth development who really understand how to work with young people and how to bring their voice out so that they can contribute to their society. So just giving you a sense of kind of where, right? So we are in the Verona World West neighborhood of Fitchburg. So all of this area right here is Fitchburg, and it sits in the Verona School District. Fitchburg does not have its own school district. It's part of 3 other school districts. But if you look over here, you've got Madison, and you've also got other parts of Madison that are in the Verona School District. And there are hundreds of young people between the ages of 12 and 18 who live in this community, to which there would be a benefit to be able to have a dedicated space for young people. We took a survey in 2022 through our community engagement study, and most people recognize that there is not a space for teens in our community. There's not sufficient space for young people to be able to have things to do. And a majority of people that took this survey agreed that having a space for teens is important and it's necessary. And most people agreed that a teen center would actually be utilized if it were to be created. Most of the concerns that folks had about whether a teen center would be feasible related to the idea of operational support. So do we have enough funding to be able to not only build this space, but actually continue to keep the space running and ongoing, to be able to support staffing, to be able to support the maintenance of a building. And most other folks also said that capital support, so support for the actual infrastructure, would be a need as well. And in the survey data, adults identified that there would be a need for mental health, recreation and sports, youth leadership and development, folks that were in the LGBTQ community, and adults that are BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, identified art, music, theater, and dance. Young people particularly identified diversity, so we want to be able to see people that look like us. Social and mental health for folks that identified as non-binary. And teens overall said that there should be an actual physical space where people could just hang out and be, that there be social and mental health, and that there also be some component of recreation and sports. So if you see there's a lot of overlap between what adults thought was a need and what young people identified as what their need. And now we run the part of the process where we're actually looking at the feasibility of a teen center. So what will a teen center be? How will it be feasible? How will it be able to be run and developed and maintained on an ongoing basis? So within the feasibility data, there were several things that were identified. There were themes that we grouped our needs into. So we spoke with folks at various high schools throughout Dane County, Verona High School, as well as West High School, and did other kind of smaller engagement. And these are some of the main themes that our young interns actually broke up the data and the feedback that they got. So mental health, community, operations, career development and education, accessibility, amenities, and also must-have. So the things that that have to be a part of the team.
Which you can also see, that's what you see here today, is this phase 2 piece. This is where we're really drilling down. So if you think of a funnel, the engagement study was the data that went into the top of the funnel. Now we're in phase 2, as Joe is saying, where now we're really starting to squeeze that information and really wanting to talk to our teens, both as interns and our teen community, as well as key stakeholders and partners to really understand what would it take to have a teen center. What does it look like from a space consideration, programming consideration, staffing consideration, and what's going to also, we don't want to build it and they will come model. We want to make sure that teens are going to be there every day, utilizing the space, and also making sure that we really have great partnerships. So that's what we're really focused on in phase 2. So with that, we're going to have Rafiq come up and talk about how they work this process in terms of making a vision become a reality. Do you want to? Okay, I can do it. Okay.
Hi, how's it going, everybody? My name is Rafiq Assad. I'm with Daily Architects, and we've been coming out on this project. And similar to like Joe said, this project started 5 years ago. The example that we're going to show you is a project called Imagination Center. It's in Rydell Park, and they had a similar process thing way together. We're there in modeled that same process. So the community in Madison, with the Imagination Center, they came up with things as well, the concepts of what they wanted the Imagination Center to be. And so we had these goals, and from those goals, we had similar sessions that this project is doing, when we talked to the stakeholders and community engagement, and we pulled out what their vision was for that facility. As you can see, some of the concepts, we took the concepts and turned them into images, what they thought it would be. You had different groups of people for this project. You had youth, you had older people, you had some of every type of population that wanted to pour into the project. And so we took those images, and that's how we started to define the program. And from that program, we kept going until we got to some conceptual plans. And so this is what we're imagining what's possible for the community engagement. So you see different images of the community engagement and activities to where people can pour in and just tell what they want it to be, because it's for them. This is what we call design justice, right? We're designing with the community, not for the community. So we're giving you what you need, and we're going to follow that same model with the team. So, and so we start with our goals, and just like Joe went over the goals that came out of the funnel, we had our goals for the Imagination Center, and from the goals, we went over to some of the purposes. From those goals, we started to squeeze it a little bit more and get the purpose, and then from the purpose, we came down to what the actual program is. So how do we meet that purpose? What does a place for belonging look like? Maybe that's some family reading areas, maybe there's some spaces for storytelling or just hangout spaces. And so from that program, then we were able to start to actually come to conceptual layouts and plans, and so I can figure out what those homes look like. And we're going to do the exact same process, community engagement process, for this team center. And then from that conceptual thing, you put it all together, and then you come up with a footprint, and you place it on the site, and all these things and programs fit within this complex. So this is not what Rydell looks like. This is very conceptual. But we took all of these. They wanted art parks, a reading garden, the outdoor spaces, places for farmers markets, and community kitchen, and gardens. That's what we got from there. I mean, we figured out how can we incorporate that into a community library for Rydell Park. And so we're going to do the exact same thing, or we're doing the exact same thing for the Fitchburg Teen Center.
Okay, so as Rafiq has been talking, what we want you all to understand that I want to make it clear that this part here, that's phase 3, right? So that's not happening in this part. What is happening in this part is really making sure that we can come through with some strategic goals and also really talk very clearly about the role and the purpose of the facility and how that translate into activities and programming. And so that's what our teen interns have been working on, as well as our fellows. And then that is also why we have this workshop today. This is that process. What you're going to see today and what you've been hearing today is what's bubbling up to the top in terms of what the teens have been saying and how they want us to focus. There's going to be another session at the end of the summer, so probably in August, we're going to do a session where you're going to have an opportunity to see the strategic goals and to see the role and purpose of this teen center, and really have a conversation and a dialogue with us about what you think about what's coming forth, because that is going to be the baseline that's used by JLA to then come up with concepts, as he demonstrated with the Rindell Park example. So these, as you can see back here on these poster boards, that's what this is. It's all youth-centered space. We've been very committed as a team, and having really good talent and having great interns really make sure that this is youth-centered. And we're really trying to work through all the different theme areas in terms of what they would like to see. What does accessibility mean? What does operations mean? When you say you want an education and career focus, what does that really mean? And we're also going to be asking you all that too. So again, that's happening here tonight. And these were just some images that were put together by JLA to try to help give some life to some of these topics that are coming forward, just to, help people imagine on their own. But again, this is what we want the teen interns, and you'll see this is Jair and this is Joe. They're going to be talking more with us about what you can expect in terms of the activities. So I think I'm turning it over to you all to do this part.
Hi, I'm Jair. I'm going to ninth grade. I will speak area and all the team for face.
I'm Joe. I'm a junior at Madison West High School. Try not to get confused. I'm Joe B. And I am also an intern for Phase 2. We are going to briefly go over. For you saying we're going over, we're just going over.
Okay, what?
Yes, that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
This is how you can help talk to us. That's really the biggest thing, because we can direct you to any resources that you may need. There are stations around here, and we are at the stations. We have been at the stations and will be at the stations. And if you want to stay up to date on our project, we have a link here that you should copy, because this project will run for many more years before it is completed.
So we have polls and surveys set up with QR codes for everyone to scan those a little bit. But really, we're also here to talk about what we've done, like the Teen Center. Made many surveys that put into research to kind of gather information from the community to understand what guys want to example with us to. Any knows. Is about it for how you can help.
All right, that's it. So, so there it is in a nutshell. Today, what you can learn about is what the interns have been pulling together. They've been going through quite a few design processes to pull this together. So definitely visit the stations, and like they said, they've got polls to ask you, like, what do you think about what you've seen and heard so far today, and make sure to follow us so that you can follow the bouncing ball about the Teen Center with us. And we really appreciate all of you being here today, and just make sure that you get to meet the interns.
I'll say part of this engagement process has involved our interns actually coming out to different spaces and some of our fellows. So we have college students who are actually high school students during the first study, and they decided to come back because they got so much out of the project. We went to the juvenile detention center in Dane County and talked to young people. And again, we've also been at West High School and Verona High School at several events and have talked to several hundred young people and engaged. So all this data here is the product of a lot of hard work and a lot of effort from our youth. They've led this process and they've informed this process and they've made this process what it is. So just can we give a shout out to our youth interns and our and just like on my end as somebody who's in local government, a lot of times a really small number of people make a lot of big decisions that in fact affect tens of thousands of lives and millions of dollars. And the people that make those decisions don't look like kind of what this room looks like. They don't necessarily have the lived experience to really make good decisions and informed decisions. And this is really the first time in this city's history we've had such a massive participation by people who aren't even of age to vote to be able to inform the decisions that our city has made. So this is incredibly important. So I just want us to acknowledge and sit in that moment that this is what representation is supposed to look like and what it should continue to look like moving forward. So thank you all for coming and spread the word about this project so that other people can get involved and other people can, especially if you have young people in your lives, make sure they're a part of this process and make sure that you're talking to our interns so that you can get their perspective on what we're trying to do here. So thank you all and enjoy the rest of the day.
All right, thanks everybody.